Okay, you ready? Hello and welcome to the Smooth End of the Pineapple podcast.
Hello.
I am talking over the topic and I'm very naughty. So, Matt, how you been, mate?
I am good. I'm tempted to do this whole episode in stupid voice.
Okay, you do that then. You go draw animation, you say last time.
Yes. I'm going to do my next one, which I'm forcing myself to simplify my animations. The first one that I ever did was the pilots that which avid fans or even casual would-be possibly fans would see if they go to smoothpineapple.com.
And it's on our Facebook page.
Yes, and it is one of Scot's sketches called Pilots, and featuring pilots.
Well, do you know what, Matt? We could... I was going to make this episode all about our debut show.
Which we could.
Yeah, okay. Or we could play pilots and talk about animation. Which way do you want to go? Have you got time to do 2 more episodes or just 1?
Let's do 2. So let's talk about...
Well, let's keep talking about animation.
Oh, animation. Let's talk about animation then. Okay. Yes, I
know nothing about it.
Well, I know a little bit more than that.
I do know that it's very hard, according to The Simpsons, to put out an animation show live. It creates too much strain on the animator's wrists.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have a good few years under your belt by that time.
Yeah, I think Lisa's told that in the Itchy and Scratchy factory.
Yeah. Live comedy animation is definitely a lost art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the improvisation of the actors.
It really disappeared when they stopped copying that Roadrunner and the Coyote. So many coyotes died during the making of those cartoons.
Yeah.
But they had to have something to copy off.
They did. So animation is like a passion of yours. You've loved it for...
It is. And again, I think this is one of the wonderful things that's come from doing this work that we're doing. It's put me into a place where, or it's put us into a place where we need, well, maybe not need, but we want these things. And I'm going, well, I can work pretty cheap, and I'll see if I can do it. So,
so you bought some software.
Oh yes, I bought some software, which allows me to drastically cut down on the number of drawings I do. So instead of the traditional way of doing animation, which would be to draw, 25 still cartoons for every second of animation, to just run one after the other and with slightly changing, like an old flip-it book like you used to do.
Well, do you know what? Just going back to, you remember we were talking about Foot Rot Flats?
Yeah.
Right, probably episode 1. Did you see the Foot Rot Flats movie?
Yeah.
Now, cinema projection back then filmed 24 frames a second. And to save money, just for the animation, they animated that at, I can't remember the number, it might have been 16 frames a second, probably would have been a multiple of 8 or 4 or something, but it shows. You're talking about doing stuff at 25 frames a second, which probably the computer interpolates, but if you hand draw something and it's not at the full frame rate, it shows.
Yes, I remember. You can see it. It's got a very distinctive... there's just a little bit more of a delay when the dog lands or takes off, or there's just that little... The best case scenario there, and it sort of happened with me when I watched it. What it did was it gave it almost an intentional looking artistic...
Became its own style.
Flair. Yes, it was. It looked like an intentional style. And that's certainly what I remember feeling as a kid when I watched it. You can tell it's different, but...
it made me feel uneasy, which is a bit weird because I love Foot Rot Flats and I love Murray Ball's drawing style. I just think he's brilliant. But, yeah, that motion kind of thing.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah, he did that foot rot flat stuff that was really artistic. That
That's
was your
outstanding.
real. That wasn't just your draw what you need to draw to get a joke across. It was
they're
that's
real
a
works
nice
of art by
artistic.
themselves, yeah.
Yeah.
So those Looney Tunes, Speedy Gonzales, who was my favourite, all of those guys, they would have been at full 24 frames a second, I guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. And so this software you've got, it allows you to just kind of create midpoints every 5 frames or something, and then it interprets the rest, or how does that work?
What I can do is you essentially draw. I draw my cartoons, and then I will essentially trace over them in vector format, which is actual mathematical points.
Yep.
It'll give you curves and circles or whatever shape you want, but it saves it with vector points, which the computer can then extrapolate from one point to the next. So I will draw my face or my figure or whatever, my pilot, and draw all of the pieces. It takes a long time to put them together because it's almost like you're drawing a puppet.
Right.
You've got to draw all the pieces and then give the computer points to lock onto, so you can say, okay, at this point I'm going to draw what it looks like, and then I'm going to move it over here to what it should look like at this point. And since it's mathematically saved, the computer can then go, okay, the point between there and there, I can
so
essentially...
it's saving functions. You can create the...
Yeah, so you draw you draw on what are called specific keyframes. And it will have a go. It doesn't always get it right, but it's a lot quicker to just fix up a few things than draw it all. Yeah,
it's the same process with filming when you use image stabilization that you apply in post-production. So a keyframe is where a camera records the full image, and then you might get another keyframe every 10 frames or something, and then all it's recording in between is the variation between those two. So that's how the compression works in video. And with image stabilization, so if you've got a shaky camera, then it's probably doing the same thing your animation is doing. It's looking at the difference between the two and then trying to create where it should have been rather than where it is.
Wow. You've finally explained to me how they probably make adult film.
Yeah.
You got to compensate for that shaky camera. Sorry, mate.
Well, you know what? On the topic of adult films, right? One of my trips to Cannes, and so this is MIPCOM and MIPTV, the world's biggest film television. What do you call it? A conference, like industry event, exhibition kind of thing. People from all around the world go there. Huge, held at the Palais de Festival, where the Cannes Film Festival is held. It's like a huge, big exhibition centre, basically. And in one corner, there was the adult film section. There's only about 2 or 3 distributors or production companies. And I've got to say, the only people there were these really seedy old guys hanging around selling their adult product. And then they were looking, and one year they had, I don't know how we got onto this. I think we should just move on. But the big development was 3D. I don't even want to say pornography, but anyway, that's what it was, 3D. And I thought, oh my goodness,
3D.
Who would want to watch that in 3D?
Yeah,
anyway,
having to clean those glasses all the time. Do they have 3D glasses with the little windscreen wipers on them?
They come with wipes.
So the blokes, the people you saw there, they were actually industry people. They weren't like dudes turning up hoping to get a star to, sign this.
No,
I'm not going to sign that.
They were the production company people. Yeah. Anyway, look, let's get back to animation.
Oh,
okay?
All right. Yes, animation.
What's the name of the software package you have?
Anime Studio.
Okay.
Right. I looked around. That's the sort of person I am. I do a lot of homework and try and make sure I'm going to make the right decision. And one of the things that drew me to it is I can just buy the package outright. I didn't have to pay a subscription the way they're all sort of going now. Mm-hmm. You just got to keep paying, and I couldn't bear the idea of having... doing all this work and then not being able to access it down the track because I'm not paying a regular amount of money. But anyway, look, this has been really good. It's a massive learning curve, as you would imagine, but
And so to date, you've animated one of our sketches, which it's actually called Bombs Away, but I think Pilots is a better description of it. And it's on the back cover of our new album, or just a still from that. You can see, I'll hold up for the camera here. And so it's two pilots in a plane. And to be honest, I never worked out in my head whether it was World War II or something else. But you've drawn a plane that could be either, which is good. and you picked this one because there's a minimum of movement. You've got two characters, basically these two pilots sitting still in a plane. And I just think the way you animated it is brilliant because you've got the breathing masks move and the eyes. I had no idea such simple eyes could be so expressive. They're just the eyelids and the eyeballs. But the way you animated it is just brilliant, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
It really works well. And so that was like a test run, and that took ages to do. And we looked at outsourcing through one of those outsourcing websites like Freelancer or something. And the prices we were quoted, even with the Australian dollar being higher than India or wherever we were going to get it done, it was still so expensive. It kind of scared us off. And so, but you said that there's a way where you can automate mouth movements and things like that. Do you want to talk about that?
And unfortunately, I didn't know about that until after I was well down the road of doing that one. But I could. It would involve two things because essentially with this program, you do have the option if you've got a mouth movement that's something relatively simple, like I did, the breathing masks, stretching and compressing with speech.
Yeah.
You can set that up so that when the program registers sound on your audio file, it will do that. It'll make that little movement happen. So I could set it up so that whenever there's a significant amount of a sound or a certain syllables and so forth, certain vowel sounds on the audio track, it would make the masks move. It would trigger the movement. You need each pilot to be on a separate channel for that, of course. Otherwise, it'll do it on both. And so it's something that we certainly could have utilised if I'd had more of an understanding of it from the beginning. Yeah,
but that's the thing; it's a learning curve, and you picked a good one to start with because it's a sketch that requires simpler animation. I should just say that we turn to animation, or are turning to animation, just as a way to help get the material out there. We know audio is a great format, but people like looking at things too, and they like cartoons, and everything's very short, 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. We did send some material to the ABC, and unfortunately we didn't get through, but we thought a show with live action and cartoons in between would be great.
Getting back to an old variety thing.
Yeah, and so, I don't know, we're going to keep going with animation. I have a feeling, you could correct me if I'm wrong, did I send Jock the Bastard with the audio separated out onto channels? So
yes, I think you did.
Yeah. And see, one of the problems that we have is we're trying to do so many things, like with work and family, and I'm studying and doing those live shows. It's hard to keep everything going, and so we are going to do another animation, and Jock is the one, isn't it?
Jock's the next one, and I mentioned whether I said anything just before about simplifying them. The biggest thing I've got to keep on my own back about is I love drawing these cartoons, and I love bringing these characters. Yes, I love bringing these characters to life, and I've sat down a few times and I've drawn out Angus, one of the key characters, and I've drawn out the presenter, another key character, and I've got to stop. I want to make these. When I mentioned earlier on, you're essentially setting up a puppet almost to be moved around. And I go, I want it so that I can move the head to the left, to the right. I can make them look up, make them look down. I can rotate the body if I want to. And the more of those things you want it to do, the more upfront rigging, you tend to call it, you've got to do. Right. And I find myself spending a lot of time on it without actually having animated anything. And one of the things I've got to keep remembering, when I first learned the program, I sat and read through the manual. I read through examples and so forth, and I did little exercises and so forth. And I got to a point and I went, there is just so much. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do this. And one day I said, okay, just make something. So I
do
drew
it.
a little Batman cartoon,
Yeah.
and I did the whole thing in less than a day. And I drew him up, I rigged him, I got his cape to blow in the wind, I got him to talk, I recorded the voice.
Yeah, I remember this. You showed me this.
Yeah, drew the different mouths
Yeah.
and got them in there. And and I got to keep remembering to look back at that and look at, because it was a very simple cartoon, but it did everything we needed it to do.
So you need to go from the simple to the complex rather than the other way around.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, well, who's your favourite animator?
Oh, boy. There's one I've just discovered relatively recently, and it's called Forget About It. And they exist on YouTube, actually. They're
right.
It's about a made guy named Jimmy Falcone. And there was a hit put out on his uncle. He's a New York made guy. And he found out his uncle was going to get whacked, and so he whacked the hit squad. And then he had to go into witness protection, and he got sent to Canada. Him and his family got sent to Canada, and they got to live there in Regina. And I haven't really researched the timeline of what went on with this show, but all of the episodes are there in high res, and they've got their own channel, so it's not like they're bootlegged or anything. So I'm not sure whether it just lasted a little while and then they've got the go ahead to distribute it. But anyway, look, I really like. I'm watching it's one I'm particularly paying attention to, the animation style, because they've really. One of the things I admire the most is people who can get a lot of information or a lot of emotion across with the minimum of lines, and these guys have done very simplified, not super simple, but you can see that it wouldn't have been as tough to animate as some other, or as time consuming to animate it as other things. And I grew up loving that Batman animated. That's still really a pinnacle of animation for me. That 90s Batman animated show. Archer's one I really, really like.
It's amazing how much you can express with a really simple form. It really is. And I think that goes in lots of artistic mediums. Even with music, the Jesus and Mary Chain were a huge band for me back in the 80s. And a lot of their songs are so simple. I mean, there's so much feedback going on, but underneath it, the actual song is as simple as one thing, but it conveys so much emotion. It's just amazing what you can do. Well, look, I probably don't know enough about animation to say who my favourite animator is. I know I do love Murray Ball's drawing style. It was very sad when he died. I don't know. I mean, when I worked at Chaos Comedy Restaurant in Sydney for a couple of years in the mid-90s, and we used to play, I think it was a pre-show thing as the audience were coming in on the TVs around the restaurant. The stage manager went through a phase where he was playing the Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons a lot. And I must have been... You
could do worse.
Yeah, and I must have been going through a depressive phase because I actually started really feeling sorry for the coyote. I was really empathising with him.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Hang on, what's going on? Hey, do you know... Well, let's talk about, on the topic, because they also used to show this at Chaos, stop motion, Wallace and Gromit, Nick Parks. Oh, my goodness, the standard of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually watched the Early Man a week or two ago, and I'm not mad about soccer or anything, so I kind of like, but the have you seen that?
Yeah.
That's the most recent one? Yeah. But just the artwork, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's
you can see
outstanding.
Yeah. You can see why he broke quickly when he finally got some stuff out there.
Yeah.
It took off quickly. Because you can see the difference in...
Oh, the first one and then the second one.
The first Wallace and Gromit even to the next ones. The number of decisions that he made to do things differently and to make characters look different. And
I presume since Peter Sallis, the voice of Wallace, since he passed away, I presume there's never going to be another Wallace and Gromit. Would you know?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be... Yeah, that'd be a tough act to follow.
Yeah. But that... You know, the bit where he's on the train laying out the tracks in front of him, or he's in the plane and it crashes into the wall, and then the plane spins around.
Yeah,
the propeller stays still.
That's high level. That is
art.
high level. Yeah, animation. That's one of those things that really showcases. I love things that showcase something you can do with a particular art form that you really can't do with any other.
Yeah.
One, where else could you utilize something like Wallace, like Gromit throwing all those sets of train track down, so fast, and have it. It doesn't have to be believable. He doesn't have to be doing it at a realistic rate for a
it still works,
a live action movie.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be as funny if it wasn't as fast.
Yeah. Have you ever done any stop motion?
No, none.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
I really, you know what? Looking around this room, you can see how many, figurines and statues, and so it's weird. I've got
about 1,000.
Yeah, I've got such.
And I'm not kidding.
I've got such a respect for people who can sculpt.
Yeah,
I think it's a wonderful.
But these
art form, but it's something I've never actually tried.
Yeah, but these, like, as sexy as Poison Ivy is Scarlet, these the little, like, the miniature Thor. I mean, to me, that's the uncanny valley. It looks just like a person, but being so small, it looks a bit weird because it's not cartoonish. It is actually like a person who's only, 10 inches high.
Yeah, some of this, whether they just use an excellent sculptor or whether they tend to scan the faces nowadays and get it in there.
But then
I think that's
Belushi
wonderful.
You see John Belushi over your left shoulder. Now that's kind of comic, and I mean it's that thing between realism versus a comic, but kind of realistic.
Yeah. That's real. They're real. That Blues Brothers set there. They're real caricature.
Yeah, caricature. That's
and I love seeing that because I love cartoon work. I've loved it my whole life.
Yeah.
But it's only relatively recently that you get to see it in 3D. You get to see it molded. You get to decide what angle to look at it from.
Yeah, and going back to Nick Parks, I remember seeing Curse of the Were Rabbit in the cinema, and so it's very large on screen, and in the plasticine you can actually see the fingerprints of the people moving them, and it's not noticeable. You have to look to see it, but it just makes it so organic and real and not CGI.
Now I may be wrong in this. I'm totally prepared to be wrong, but my understanding is they did. Because they got some of their work. I'm not sure about Were Rabbit, but other things they've gone to having them digitally produced, stop motion. They do it in a three. They do it as 3D animation, but still to look like clay. And
maybe they put in fake fingerprints.
That's what I'm getting at. I'm prepared to be wrong, but I think I've seen something that. Supposedly they had produced in a computer, but it had fingerprints put in it.
Well, I fell for it if that's the case with the Curse of the Were Rabbit, but it's.
I don't think it was on. I don't think they did that one.
I know some of the more recent stuff. There's a lot of CGI in there, even just the backgrounds or fire explosions and things like that, and that's okay because you think, well, it's just adding to the scene, but you still feel like the characters or the models are real. But. Yeah, wow, how about that? We've got all the way onto this.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about our first show. Okay, well, is there anything else about animation you want to chat about? I reckon that we should finish this episode once you've said anything else about animation. We'll play that actual two pilots sketch as a way to go out.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh, no, look, I wouldn't say that I know enough about animation to be a major voice. I just know enough to have really deeply appreciated it, and I've been one of the people who are interested in how they did it, which I think is just that level beyond sitting and enjoying it for what it is. I could certainly sit and enjoy it for what it is, but I'm one of those who also look and go, how did they achieve that?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So whether that makes me qualified to...
Well, it means
hopefully
that
it makes me qualified to do some of it myself, which I am doing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you're invested in it because it means something to you. And so
I'll say that.
Out of that passion comes knowledge. Okay, so this sketch bombs away, or pilots. There's a funny story behind me writing this. I was having a holiday at Kira Beach. We go down there a fair bit, down on the Gold Coast. And in fact, Dennis, our sound guy, was visiting with his wife and son. And they were kicking a footy round, and I just had this brilliant idea to write this sketch, and I had a notebook with me, and I was being a bit antisocial, and I started writing, and Dennis kept looking at me going, come on. I said, no, stop. And I didn't tell him why, I just kept writing, and he must have thought I was quite rude, but the ideas just kept coming, and I just had to keep writing them down. And I explained to him later, and he thought it was funny.
You've got to. The number of... that's the whole reason I actually moved on to smartphones all those years ago. I really wanted to record. I had a little separate recorder I had for comedy ideas back when I was wanted to do stand up and so forth. So I find if you don't do it when you think of it, it's gone.
Yeah, and I agree too. I have like notebooks I'm writing all sorts of rubbish in. but I think part of the reason why you forget it is because you are linking those parts of the brain that aren't usually linked. And memory happens by like learning lines for a play. The repetition, it shortens the synapses between the neurons. And I think that like there's a protein buildup or something in there. So the more you use certain channels in your brain, the closer the links or the synapses become, and so it's easier for the signals to go down. You actually change your brain by the repetition. But in comedy, you think of a funny thing, you're connecting two really disparate parts that are never connected. And it's hard to reconnect them because they were never connected to begin with because the gaps are so large. That's my theory on it.
This is why we're a good team, because most of my humour is farts and naughty, and you're smarter.
No, anyway. Righto, look, let's play this. And yeah, this is always a fun sketch too, actually. And we've done this live, and to get the weird effect on the mics, we use big tubes like didgeridoos to talk down and kind of make our voice sound compressed. And this was one. Do you remember? I sent you an early version of this, and you played it to a few people as you were animating, and the audio was it was actually painful. It hit a frequency that hurt, and you said, "Oh, we've got to do something about this," and that's what actually inspired me to go and read more about mixing. And then I went through and remixed this entire second album again. And, it was before we'd put the album out, but it just made the audio quality so much better and so less painful.
It was a massive jump. It was such a massive jump. And I would show people the animation, and they would say, I can't actually understand what they're saying. We can't.
It was the levels were all over the place. Plus, you've got a EQ compression to try and make it sound like they're talking these weird little microphones. So anyway, our first animation, you can look for it online on YouTube, and here's the audio sketch only. So we'll play this and wrap up after that. Here we go.
Altitude 10,000 feet, cruising speed 500 miles per hour.
Roger.
Red Charlie, this is Bomber Command. 2 minutes till you're over the target zone.
Roger that, Command.
Arm the bomb and release when you're ready.
Roger, will do. Out. Tom, can you arm the bomb?
Roger. We appear to have a malfunction.
What?
The arming light isn't coming on.
Try again.
I did. It's not coming on. There's no confirmation the bomb's armed.
Wait a minute. Did you actually put the bomb on the plane?
No, I thought you did.
I thought you did.
Well, why should I do it? You always do it.
But I'm sure you wanted to do it. Remember you said that last week?
No, I never said that.
Yes, you did. You mentioned it once last week.
No, I didn't.
Oh, hang on. Maybe I did do it. Oh, I don't know.
Did you put the bomb on the plane or not?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I could have. I can't remember. You know when you feel like you've done something but you don't know? Like if you've turned the iron off or not? It's just... Oh, maybe I did. I don't know. I normally do it, but there was a break in the routine today. You know, it's normally check the tyres, check the submachine guns, load the thermonuclear device. I do it every day, day after day. But it was different today.
What happened today?
I got distracted.
By what?
I was talking to the refuelling attendant.
Talking to the refuelling attendant?
He's an interesting guy. He breeds Airedale Terriers.
Well, what about the bomb?
I don't know. Sometimes I think you don't want me to be happy.
Oh, it's got nothing to do with that. What are we going to tell Bomber Command?
I'm not telling her. I'm scared stiff of her.
Well, I'm not telling her either.
Perhaps we could just pretend we dropped it. If we fly over the target zone and open the bomb bay doors anyway, they'd never know the difference with all the other bombs going off.
We are the only ones out here. We're the only ones on this mission. They picked us because we're so good. This is a special top secret mission. The future of the war depends on this.
Oh.
Now we're just going to look like a pack of idiots.
Well, we wouldn't have if you'd remembered to put the bomb on.
Well, if I'd remembered, that is so unfair. It's your job.
Well, you should have checked. And what's wrong with me talking to him? You know I like Airedale Terriers.
Oh, it's just that you leave everything to me. I'm always picking up your pieces.
Oh, that is so untrue. I do all the pre-flight checks and fly the plane. I do everything. All you have to do is sit there and press the bomb release button and do the navigating.
Well, I'm not going to let you do the navigating ever again.
Well, how was I to know that we have a town with exactly the same name as the one we're meant to bomb? You're just jealous of me, aren't you? You just can't stand me being happy, can you?
Oh, it's not that at all.
And I hate these awkward silences.
Oh, you are so passive-aggressive.
Just try arming the bomb again, see what happens.
Okay.
Well, there's no use trying to drop it now, is there?
An interesting, what I thought of when I was listening to that is, you were saying something along these lines before, but I can't remember what it was now. But all I can think about when I listen to that now is what each character's eyes are doing during those lines.
Yeah. Well, you spent ages animating it.
Yes, yeah. Exactly what expression they need. Yeah, it's ingrained. It's like I've learned the lines to a play.
Yeah, yeah.
They're right in there.
Yeah, because you spent so much time doing it. And I remember vaguely, didn't about a year ago or something, you sent me something about Airedale Terriers and the RAF.
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
Oh man, what was it?
Wasn't it a little Google Doodle or something?
Yeah, it was a little fun fact that came up on my phone.
Yeah. Anyway, I
I
just picked
may
Airedale
even have
Terriers
it.
for fun. I just wanted something bizarre, so that's why I picked Airedale Terriers.
I may have even screenshotted it.
They were used with the RAF to calm the pilots or something, weren't they? Or to smell something or do something. There was some connection.
They were actually, yeah. I actually thought, because I am not the history buff that you are, that I thought you'd just picked.
No, it was just
picked
coincidence.
a dog.
Yeah, no, I just picked them because, I mean, they're funny terriers because they're so large, aren't they? My cousin had one years and years and years ago. They're nice dogs.
Arndale Terriers. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, there's the little screenshot of these microphones we're using that I sent you. I'm thinking of getting these things. Greece's official name is the Hellenic Republic. Okay.
Do you save all of these fun facts?
Yes. Well, I know someone who's Greek with a similar name.
Right.
So I thought.
I thought you were going to say when you meet people and the conversation kind of dries up.
Yeah. Here's today's fun fact. Airedale Terriers served in the First World War on the front lines as British messengers.
Oh, okay, that's it, right.
There you go.
Yeah, no, well, I just picked Airedales just for random fun, so there we go.
And there you go, and that worked out real well.
Yeah.
How do you like them apples?
Okay, well, that was our little impromptu discussion all about... hang on, let me go back to where I need to be. That was our little impromptu discussion all about animation. So, any last word, Matt, on animation?
Any last word? Last word on animation is be prepared to have to put a lot of work in, but boy, oh boy, it's rewarding. The times I feel most rewarded, at least from a creative point of view, is when I either write something I know it's going to be funny, if I draw something that really gets across what I had in my head, or the time, as I've found lately, when I can bring something to inject a bit of life into something with animation.
Yeah. So it's very painstaking art, but watch this space. We've got one clip done. There'll be others. And check us out on smoothpineapple.com, Facebook, YouTube,
Instagram.
Yeah, all of those ones. And
don't think there's much on there, but Instagram.
Yes. And we're the smooth end of the pineapple. I'm Scot McPhie.
I know I'm Matt Bell. Did I peak when I did that? Instagram.
No, but guess what? My computer just said your battery is running low. We need to play this theme before the whole thing dies.
We're off to plug in. I'm Matt Bell, and he's Scot McPhie. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
It doesn't have the energy.
It doesn't have the. It's not going to. It's too flat.
There it is.
Okay. Yay.
And that's the end of the episode. Sorry, I said